Something just shifted in Washington. And if you're counting on Social Security to get through each month, what I'm about to share with you could change how you plan for the rest of this year and beyond. The numbers are finally in, and they're painting a picture that millions of Americans need to see right now. We're talking about your monthly check, your ability to keep up with rising costs, and whether the next cost of living adjustment will actually help you afford the basics like food, medicine, and keeping the lights on. This isn't just another update you can scroll past, because what's happening with inflation right now is directly tied to how much money will land in your account in the coming months. And the gap between what you're receiving and what you actually need to survive is growing wider every single day. Before we go any further, I want you to know that you're in the right place. This is U.S. Benefit Updates, and we're here to cut through the confusion and bring you the truth about Social Security, Medicare, stimulus payments, and every dollar of relief you're entitled to as an American who's worked hard, paid into the system, and deserves dignity and security in your retirement years. We don't play games with clickbait or false hope. What we do is track every policy change, every inflation report, and every government announcement so that you have the real information you need to make decisions for yourself and your family. If this is your first time here, stay close, because what's unfolding right now affects more than 60 million people across this country, and you need to hear what the latest projections are actually saying. Let's talk about what just got released, because this matters more than almost anything else happening in the news right now. The Bureau of Labor Statistics just dropped new inflation data, and it's not the news anyone wanted to hear. Consumer prices have climbed to levels we haven't seen in 3 years. We're talking about a 4.2% annual increase in May, and that surge is being driven heavily by energy costs that are spiking due to global instability and ongoing tensions that don't seem to have any clear end in sight. When you're living on a fixed income and you're already stretching every dollar to cover rent, groceries, and prescriptions, even a small jump in prices feels like a punch to the gut. But a 4% increase isn't small. It's the kind of rise that means choosing between filling your medications or filling your tank, between turning on the air conditioning in summer or keeping an extra $20 for an emergency. Now here's where it gets even more critical. And this is where you need to pay close attention, because it ties directly into your Social Security payment. The Senior Citizens League, one of the most trusted voices when it comes to advocating for retirees and people on disability, has just released their latest projection for the next cost of living adjustment. They're now estimating that the COLA for 2027 could come in at 3.8%. That's a full percentage point higher than what we saw this year, which was 2.8%. For the average retiree currently receiving about $2,026 a month, that 3.8% increase would translate into an additional $77 every single month. Over the course of a full year, that's roughly $900 more in your pocket. On paper, that might sound like progress, but let's be honest about what's really going on here. Even with that projected increase, it's still not enough, not even close. The same research shows that the average cost of living for a senior in this country, when you factor in rent for just a one-bedroom apartment plus food, utilities, transportation, and healthcare, comes out to around $2,700 a month. That means even if you get that $77 bump, you're still falling short by hundreds of dollars every month. And we're not talking about luxuries here. We're talking about keeping a roof over your head, eating regular meals, getting to doctor's appointments, and being able to turn the heat on when winter comes. These are basic human needs, and it is absolutely unacceptable that so many people who spent decades working and contributing to this nation are being forced to live below what it actually costs just to get by. What makes this even harder to swallow is the growing number of Americans who depend entirely on Social Security for their income. According to recent surveys, nearly 44% of beneficiaries now rely on Social Security for all of their income. That number was 39% just last year. Think about that for a second. Almost half of all seniors drawing benefits have nothing else coming in. No pension, no part-time job, no savings account with enough in it to make a real difference. When Social Security is all you have and it's not enough to cover your bills, the stress doesn't just affect your wallet. It affects your health, your peace of mind, and your ability to live with any kind of dignity or security in your later years. And let's talk about what's driving these numbers, because understanding the why helps you see the bigger picture. A huge part of the inflation surge we're seeing right now is tied to energy prices, which jumped nearly 4% in just 1 month and are up over 23% compared to last year. When oil prices spike because of international conflict, trade disputes, or supply chain disruptions, it doesn't just mean you pay more at the gas pump. It means the cost of transporting food to grocery stores goes up. It means the cost of heating and cooling your home climbs. It means every product that has to be shipped, stored, or moved gets more expensive, and those costs get passed directly to you. The companies don't absorb those expenses. You do. Right now, there's enormous pressure on the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates, and you've probably seen headlines about it. Lowering rates would make borrowing cheaper, potentially boost the stock market, and make it easier for people to buy homes or start businesses. But here's the catch. If the Fed cuts rates while inflation is rising, it could actually make inflation worse. It's a delicate balancing act, and the people making those decisions are stuck between political pressure and economic reality. For those of us watching from the outside, especially those on fixed incomes, it feels like being caught in the middle of a storm with no shelter. You didn't create this mess, but you're the one dealing with the consequences every single day. Meanwhile, the conflict overseas continues to drag on with no clear resolution in sight. Every time there's talk of progress or a potential deal, something falls through and we're right back where we started. The uncertainty keeps markets on edge, keeps oil prices volatile, and keeps the pressure building on everyday Americans who just want stability. You want to know that your check will cover your bills. You want to know that you won't have to skip meals or ration your medications. You want to know that the system you paid into for 30, 40, even 50 years will actually be there for you when you need it most. That's not asking too much. That's the promise that was made when Social Security was signed into law more than 90 years ago. President Franklin D. Roosevelt described Social Security as a structure meant to protect against the crushing weight of poverty and old age, and to smooth out the peaks and valleys of economic turmoil. The goal was never to make people rich. It was to provide a foundation, a baseline of security so that after a lifetime of work, you wouldn't be left destitute or desperate. But when nearly 25 million older Americans are drawing all of their retirement income from Social Security, and the average benefit still falls short of basic living costs, we have to ask ourselves if we're really living up to that promise. Are we honoring the people who built this country, who worked in factories and schools and hospitals and farms, who raised families and paid taxes and believed that the system would take care of them when their working years were over? The answer, painfully, is no. Not right now. And that's why these conversations matter so much. That's why every new inflation report, every COLA projection, every policy debate in Washington should matter to you. Because it's about your life. It's about whether you can afford to see a doctor when something's wrong, or whether you have to wait and hope it goes away on its own. It's about whether you can visit your grandkids, or whether the cost of gas keeps you isolated at home. It's about whether you feel respected and valued, or whether you feel forgotten and left behind. So what can be done? That's the question on everyone's mind. Some advocates are calling for an emergency one-time boost to benefits, maybe $200 a month across the board, just to help people catch up and cover the gap that's been growing for years. Others are pushing for changes to how the COLA is calculated, so that it more accurately reflects what seniors actually spend money on, including healthcare, which tends to rise faster than general inflation. There are proposals to increase the minimum benefit, to eliminate taxes on Social Security income, and to strengthen the program's funding so it remains solvent for future generations. But all of these solutions require action from Congress, and that means political will, public pressure, and voices like yours making it clear that this issue cannot be ignored any longer. In the meantime, you have to do what you've always done, which is make the best decisions you can with the information you have. Stay informed about when COLA increases take effect, usually in January of each year. Watch for updates on Medicare premiums, because those often get deducted directly from your Social Security check. And if premiums go up, your net payment could actually go down even with a COLA increase. Keep an eye on any new relief programs, whether they're federal or state level, that might offer help with utilities, food assistance, prescription drug costs, or housing. Every little bit helps, and there are resources out there that too many people don't know about simply because no one told them. This is exactly why channels like this exist. We're not here to sugarcoat the truth or pretend everything's fine when it's not. We're here to give you the facts, to help you understand what's happening, and to make sure you know you're not alone in this. Millions of people are in the same boat, facing the same struggles, asking the same questions, and deserving the same answers. The more we talk about this, the harder it becomes for politicians and policymakers to look the other way. Your story matters. Your voice matters. And whether you're receiving retirement benefits, disability, or supplemental security income, you are part of a community that deserves respect, protection, and a government that keeps its promises. So stay tuned, stay engaged, and keep coming back because we'll be here every step of the way, bringing you the updates that affect your financial security and your future.